everybody, and welcome to Cana and Mike's Movie Night. I'm Mike. My wife, Cana, will be joining me shortly. In the meantime, Morgan is keeping me company. This week, we are finishing up our lead-in to Star Trek Beyond. Last time we watched the 2009 Star Trek feature film, directed by J.J. Abrams and produced by same. This week, we are looking at his second outing from 2013. And now, by the time you see this, Star Trek Beyond will likely already be in theaters. This may air out of sequence with the rest of the movie night episode. So if you do hear us say at the end of a movie night episode, hey, we're watching Star Trek next time, please don't be surprised that that's just the order we recorded them in. But today, since we are actually reviewing this film, and I feel a certain amount of journalistic integrity is needed, I will refer to it by its given name, Star Trek Into Darkness, although avid viewers of the ECS network will know it better as Star Trek Into Dumbness, because that's what I call it all the time. Suffice it to say, I'm not a huge fan of this movie. In fact, as far as I'm concerned, it is the worst Star Trek movie ever made. Yes, I think it's worse than Star Trek V, The Final Frontier, and I am a huge Star Trek fan. The only reason I own this movie is because I'm a Star Trek completist. I want everything that's out there on DVD or Blu-ray, preferably Blu-ray, for those of you at Paramount and CBS that might be listening and haven't got off your ass and released DS9 yet. But, that notwithstanding, this particular feature film, starring Sherlock star Benedict Cumberbatch, I have a terrible time pronouncing his name, taking over the role of Khan Noonien Singh, originated by Ricardo Montalban, joining the revised, the new Abrams-verse, Kelvin-verse Star Trek cast, Chris Pine, Zach Quinto, Carl Urban, and others. This feature film I have seen once. Yes, I own the Blu-ray, but I saw it opening night in theaters. I have not actually watched this disc. Tonight will be the first time I've done that. You see, when I saw this movie, I saw it with our favorite Alaskan Penguin, Chris Brown, who you've seen here on the network on Rage Quit Radio, the host of that fine show. He had the unfortunate gift, duty, burden of sitting next to me in the theater to see this on opening night, literally 1 hour after I had watched Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. So, we will suffice it to say, as even Morgan walks away from this movie, that I didn't leave with the warm fuzzies over it. So, here's the question. 3 years removed, will I still think that this is just nothing more than a poor imitation of the greatest Star Trek movie ever made, Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, or will the old adage, time heals all wounds, apply to Into Darkness? Only one way to find out. So, join myself, the wife Cana, and possibly Morgan here, as we check out Star Trek Into Darkness, this week on Movie Night. Hello everybody, welcome back to Cana and Mike's Movie Night. As you can probably notice, I'm wearing a different shirt than we were in the opening, so obviously different night, but that's a-okay. There's parts of me that wishes it was a different movie. It is Star Trek Into Darkness.
If you're going to be like that, you're not going to be allowed to say anything at all. If you can't say something nice, you don't say anything. You can be silent through this whole video. Will you say something nice? No. Will you say anything nice?
Believe it or not, I am going to say some nice things about this movie. As we discussed right before we kicked back to the review part here, Star Trek Into Darkness, this is the second of the Kelvin-verse J.J. Abrams Star Trek movies. Specifically, this one was made in 2013, so just 3 years ago now. Once again, starring Chris Pine and crew as the rejuvenated, I suppose, crew of the Starship Enterprise in this alternate reality to the Star Trek television series. And this time around, co-starring or featuring one Mr. Benedict Cumberbatch, or Cumberbach.
It's Cumberbatch.
Cumberbatch, yeah, we'll go with that. As Noonien Singh, although they never use his full name in the movie. So, Star Trek Into Darkness, we will start... we don't actually have to go over a whole heck of a lot of the visuals of the Enterprise and things like that in general, because it's the same ship and the same sets as the first movie, along with most of Starfleet Academy and Starfleet Headquarters. We've seen this in the first movie. So we will start with certain things that are new to this movie. One, which might be the most important one to some people because it's Star Trek and we like ships. The ship that we see Khan take is the Starship Vengeance, which if ever there was a non-Star Trek name for a Starfleet vessel, it's the Vengeance. It sounds like something out of Star Wars. Well, J.J. Abrams. But anyway. What did you think of the new ship that we get to see?
I thought it was nice. What?
She's not the visually minded one.
Let me put a disclaimer on this.
Okay.
He made the mistake when he originally saw this of watching the original Wrath of Khan before going to see this. Like, what, an hour before?
Actually, I think I watched Wrath of Khan and then left for the theater. So.
Number one mistake. Second of all, then, since this came out, he has yet to call it by its proper name without having to consciously think about it.
I called it Star Trek Into Darkness at the end of our last video, just last week, and I have yet to call it by its epithet name this episode.
There's still time. And he has complained about this movie, so it is hard. When I saw this movie 2 years after he did, without him, I enjoyed it. I still enjoy it, but it is hard to find enjoyment when you bitch about it like a whiny baby.
So, my retort, number one, watching Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan is never a mistake. Ever. Greatest Star Trek movie ever made, one of the finest works of science fiction cinema, period. Now, with that said, Star Trek Into Darkness was, past tense, for quite a while, in my opinion, the worst Star Trek movie ever made.
That was because you did a stupid thing.
It's not anymore, because, you know, as they say, time heals all wounds. It's still a flawed movie in a lot of ways when it comes to being a Star Trek film, but I'm going to give credit where it's due. Visually,
lens flares could go. There were
many
more in this.
You know, the lens flares are the one thing about these movies that don't bother me.
They bug me. If I can't directly see the smoldering look Captain James T. Kirk gives to the villain because of a fucking lens flare, then you've kind of defeated the purpose of the glare.
And for those keeping track of the Cana F-bomb ratio, that would be 1 on this episode so far.
Yeah, but I called you whiny baby and bitchy.
So, visually, the only real new visual to this, there are 2, in my opinion, that are major visuals. One is the Starship Vengeance, which is supposed to look like sort of the brutal big brother of the Enterprise. The only thing about the Vengeance that threw me off is the saucer section has a big old hole in the middle of it. It's like a ring instead of an actual saucer, which looks really, really weird.
They can play basketball with it when they're not, killing people.
Anyway.
I thought it made sense.
The other one is we get to see the Klingon homeworld. And we get to see Klingons in this reimagined Star Trek universe. For those of you who have the Blu-ray or DVD or know any of the behind-the-scenes stuff about the first Star Trek movie in J.J. Abrams' run, we would have seen them in the first movie, but they got cut. There was supposed to be a scene in that movie, which was shot, I think it's part of the deleted scenes on the Blu-ray, where Nero and the crew of his ship wind up getting captured by Klingons and having to escape. So we do kind of get to see it there. But we get to see it here. I like the reimagined Klingons to a point. I think they're sort of a synthesis of the original series Klingons, which the original series Klingons were nothing more than dudes in brown makeup with really bad mustaches.
And a little bit more eye stuff.
Well, yeah, and like thick, bushy eyebrows.
Yeah.
And then the later Klingons that start with Star Trek: The Motion Picture with the bumpy foreheads and lots of prosthetics and such. This movie kind of gives you the compromise, which I like that. Don't know what I think of all the piercings, but...
I don't mind the piercings. It looks badass. The eyes are what throw me off of that one, because they put in some bright-ass colored contacts.
Yeah.
That it just didn't seem... I mean, Klingons are Klingons. They're not supposed to look human. They're supposed to look alien, but I think there is a fine line between making something look alien and just doing shit for the purpose of doing shit.
From a acting standpoint, our characters and such, I only actually have one legitimate disappointment on the acting side. Only one. Yes.
The script?
Has nothing to do with the acting. My only disappointment on the acting side, truthfully, and I guess actually probably does have more to do with the writing than the acting. Scotty's barely in the damn movie.
Yeah. But he's really the one that helps answer the questions because he's not on the Enterprise.
Right. Scotty is a plot device in this film. He basically quits, gets fired towards the beginning of the movie, and then winds up smuggling himself aboard the Vengeance to help save the day towards the end. So, or middle, really. Benedict Cumberbatch as Khan Noonien Singh, I will say up front what my original fear was in this before I ever saw the movie, which was the character Khan Noonien Singh, who was originally played both in the television series and in Wrath of Khan by Ricardo Montalban. It was envisioned by Gene Roddenberry as Indian. He was deliberately not supposed to be a white guy. And the purpose of that was to show that the superior man wouldn't necessarily be Caucasian. Gene Roddenberry was known for sneaking in political statements into his 1960s sci-fi show. So the idea of taking a role originated by Ricardo Montalban, who is not a Caucasian, certainly does not have a name that sounds remotely American, or British or English or in any way white, and then recasting that role with Benedict Cumberbatch, who might have the whitest name on the face of planet Earth.
Well, you can't get much more British than that.
Yeah, and is extraordinarily British. Replacing him with Benedict Cumberbatch, I thought kind of obfuscated the message a little bit.
Yeah, but you know what? If anyone was going to be the best, the smartest, the brightest, whatever you want to say, honestly, yes, British, they come off as being that way anyway, so it kind of makes sense. Maybe it is a political statement, it's just not one that we agree with.
My wife, the Anglophile. Benedict Cumberbatch, I thought, did a wonderful job as Khan Noonien Singh. I do have some fault with the way he was written, but the only reason I have fault with it, the only reason I have fault with the way he was written in this movie now, rather than when I first watched it, the only reason I have fault with it now is I thought that the way the character was written was somewhat shallow compared to what it could be. I thought they missed a lot of opportunities with the character. He does come across to me as a tortured soul, which is very much in keeping with what they're trying to accomplish with the story. You get the tactician. Benedict Cumberbatch, basically for parts of the movie, is somewhere between an evil James Bond and an evil Sherlock Holmes. Go figure. But part of, to me, what makes Khan Khan was lost in the writing, which is he is the man who would be king. And that regal air and somewhat of pomp and hello, Morgan.
But a king must have a kingdom. And unfortunately, with all of his brethren still being cryotubes, King Without a Kingdom, you can't necessarily get that feeling. Second of all, since they did not kill him at the end of this movie, there is still the opportunity for him to come back as a plot device and have a deeper, more well-rounded character.
And I'm really kind of hoping that, and the Denzi cat has arrived. Hello, Morgan. How are you? Pardon us for just a moment, folks. There we go. So, and that was your YouTube cat video portion of movie night. So, what did you think of the acting in this movie? What did you think of Cumberbatch and the portrayal of the characters and sort of how they evolved from Star Trek to Into Darkness?
Well, I enjoy this movie, but I am not a Trekkie. So I enjoy this movie for the fact that it is a good movie. I enjoy the acting. I do miss Scotty. I kind of feel like I got cheated a little bit. But I like Simon Pegg. I'm kind of, I'm a huge Simon Pegg fan.
Well, that's fair.
I feel like some of it was just kind of... There were too many moments where you were kind of like, there's this void and it's not being filled properly. Like, anytime, really, it was, for me, it was mostly when Checkoff was in engineering.
So, to give an idea of what we're talking about with that, Checkoff, for most of the movie, is sequestered to engineering. He's the acting chief engineer. That's actually a wink and a nod to Star Trek history. During the original episode Space Seed, the character of Chekov had not even been created yet. So obviously Walter Koenig wasn't there. But in Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, the first former Enterprise or current Enterprise crew member Khan encounters is Chekov, and he recognizes him. Takes a look at him and says, "I never forget a face," and then calls him by name. Which was a question in Star Trek lore for years upon years, was, well, how in the world did Chekov and Khan ever meet if Chekov wasn't on the Enterprise during the episode? Well, one of the comic books years later, and it's one of the Paramount comic books series is from many moons ago called Star Trek Untold Voyages, actually has Chekov remembering when Khan was aboard the Enterprise the first time during Space Seed. And when someone questions him and says, "But you weren't on the Enterprise the first time we encountered Khan," Chekov's response is, "It's a big ship. I was assigned to engineering when I first got there." So it's actually a wink to some really obscure Star Trek history in the comic books. And truthfully, I don't even know if the writers knew they were referencing one of the comic book stories when they did it. But they are kind of referencing that Chekov and Khan never met during the original first appearance of Khan. So, but I agree with you. It seemed really weird. It almost to the point that the first movie gave all the characters their moments. This movie realistically focuses on 4 of the hero characters. It focuses on Kirk, Spock, McCoy, and Uhura. And that's really it. Sulu doesn't get a lot to do. Chekov doesn't get a lot to do. Scotty towards the end, but that's because he smuggled himself aboard the Vengeance.
Yeah.
So that's there is something kind of lacking there to a point. I will get to the elephant in the room now. The part that I actually harped on very badly when I first watched this movie. Actually, no, I won't. Hold up. This is not a snuff film. Get this off your head. Children, don't try this at home. One more actor that I feel a need that we're heavily neglecting. RoboCop is in this movie.
Oh, he sucks.
Peter Weller.
I hate him.
Peter Weller as the...
Not as a human being, but as an actor. He sucks.
Can I finish?
God, he sucks!
Peter Weller, who is Admiral Marcus in this movie, the father of Carol Marcus. Another little nice wink and nod that this is supposedly the first meeting of Carol and Kirk. which should, if they mirror the original movies, will someday produce David Marcus. Peter Weller is basically the villain for 85% of the movie. Also was the main villain for the last part of Star Trek Enterprise. So I was kind of happy that they continued to find work for Peter Weller in the Star Trek family.
They didn't need
to. I think Peter Weller in this movie basically comes off... Upon rewatching the movie, Peter Weller is the cookie-cutter, mustache-twirling bad guy.
Who can't act.
The
Excuse me, I didn't hit you with that when you...
I'll give it to you so you can hit me with it in a minute. The cookie-cutter, mustache-twirling bad guy that is Peter Weller, but he does serve in very good contrast to the tactical, deeper characterization of Khan. So, and you can see how Khan used him. So, it actually, I thought, worked very well. If I had had my druthers, I would have simply written Peter Weller as the main villain of the entire movie.
The man can't act well enough to hold an entire movie as a villain.
So, okay. Have you ever seen RoboCop?
Yes. And you know why he did so well with that? It required no skill.
I would argue against that. I think it takes as much skill to act emotionless and machine-like as it does to act any other way.
Not necessarily. I'm serious. I don't think he can act. I don't like how he did it. It didn't seem... He wasn't scary. I was kind of like... It's like the... Okay. You know me and food. It would be like offering you a dry sponge cake. Yes, it is dessert. Yes, it is cake. But compared to the wonderful, decadent, fresh strawberry shortcake with the whipped cream and the strawberries and just, yum. It sucks.
I imagine you're not the first person to say, yum, in reference to Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yes.
Though you may be the first person to compare him to a strawberry shortcake.
Well, I would consider him more of a tiramisu.
Anyway, folks.
All espresso and yum.
So,
I do love you.
My wife, ladies and gentlemen. So, as I say, to the elephant in the room, which is the actual writing.
Can I now have my pillow?
Well, you can have this, because you may hit me with it. So...
You may bite him, too.
I find the movie, personally, still to be very lazily written in places. For about 80% of the movie, it is actually pretty good. I enjoy it. I think you see a relationship between Khan and Kirk that, while very different than the relationship you see between them in Space Seed, is reminiscent of it. Where it is Kirk and Khan as equals, and in another time and place, perhaps allies. But in this instance, they will eventually be enemies by the end of the movie. The lazy part to me comes in basically Kirk's death. There are two things in the movie that I frankly don't like. I do not like the way that Kirk sacrifices himself for the Enterprise. It is a juxtaposition of the exact same role, or exact same setup from Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. The Enterprise is dead in the water. Originally Spock, now Kirk, is going to be in engineering. He's going to risk the radiation that's going to kill him in order to save the ship. Kirk, now Spock, who's on the bridge in command, helps save the day, and so on, gets the Enterprise out of trouble. And then, literally word for word, beat for beat, we see, you better get down here. You can't go in there, you'll flood the whole compartment. He's dead already. Literally, almost copy and pasted. And I didn't buy part of the emotion we get out of the scene, because the gravitas of the scene in Wrath of Khan is entirely based on the fact that we've seen these characters for, at that point, over, almost 20 years. Supposedly they've been working together and friends that entire time. These two guys have known each other at this point in movie time for 2 years, maybe 3, and their relationship started out rocky at best. So it doesn't have the same level of friendship. That's the first of my 2 problems with the writing, which I blame entirely on whoever the third Joker was on the writing team, because Orky and Kurtzman did a wonderful job on the first movie. Now, do you have anything you want to say to counter that before I move on to the second part that I didn't like?
Just get it all out of your system.
Okay. The only other thing I didn't like, to me it was very unbelievable that they could beat Khan. In the first movie...
Well, let me rephrase that. The men did not beat Khan.
No, to me it is unbelievable that any of them could beat Khan. And here's why. In Wrath of Khan in Star Trek II, one of the... She's going to do this every time I bring up the other movie. But it's an obvious comparison, folks, because in many ways they're retreading some...
It's an alternate universe! For
yes, it is.
Fuck's sake!
It is. So tell me in an alternate universe why you would do the exact same thing.
Because there are some things that the universe will always require no matter what reality of the universe you are in.
The case is blue, but there is no TARDIS. This is not Doctor Who. There is no... This
but
is a
there
set
are
point
good
in
points
time.
Because you know what? You know what? You know what? There are certain people that are very important, and there are certain people that will always gravitate towards each other no matter the reality of which you are in. That is not just a Doctor Who thing. That is across a lot of science fiction and a lot of urban fantasy and paranormal.
And I do not disagree with you. And had it been reversed where it was Kirk living and Spock dying, I would have bought it more, because Kirk has those experiences in his head from when he mind melds with Spock in the first movie. It would have made more sense. But that's neither here nor there. The reason I find it very unbelievable that they could beat Khan is very simple. In Wrath of Khan, when the moment of realization that they can beat Khan comes when Kirk says, after getting them out of a tough spot, the only reason we got away is because I know something about these ships that he doesn't. It's the fact that Khan is not well versed in 23rd century technology. He does not know the present day. He was the smartest man alive, the greatest military tactician of his time, which is the late 20th century, not the 23rd century. In Into Darkness, he's one of the guys that designs the Vengeance. He's been thought out for years. So he knows as much, if not more, than Kirk does, or anyone else in Starfleet, about the way this stuff works. So the one thing that the crew of the Enterprise in the regular universe, the Prime universe, have as an advantage disappears. They know about about technology now. Khan doesn't. That's wiped away. So that, to me, is what makes Khan makes this portrayal of Khan a little because, and like I said, not from an acting standpoint, but from a writing standpoint. I think you write yourself into a corner to a point that compromises the character as a whole.
Okay.
She's heard this so many times over the last 3 years. She hates it at this point. But I will give mine in a moment. Your thoughts on the story, and then your final thoughts.
I enjoy this movie. I keep telling you this. I enjoy this movie, but when you whine and bitch and complain about it the way you do, it makes it hard to point out why I enjoy this movie.
Well, why do you enjoy this movie?
I can't remember because I'm so sick and tired of hearing it compared to Wrath of Khan.
Since we've watched this, and before this video, have I genuinely complained with the same vile and vitriol that I used to? Have I done that? I haven't even complained about it here the same way. I hated this movie for 3 years. hate.
He wouldn't even watch it with me so I could see it.
Yeah, it was that bad. It really was.
Oh, no, it was not that bad.
No. I mean me. I was
yes,
that
you
bad.
Were
the
that
situation
bad.
was that bad.
It's because you made a mistake. And
well,
what's the rule now when we go and see movies that are technically remakes? What's the rule?
What, watch the old one first?
No, we do not watch the old one first. We leave the old ones alone until we get home after the movie.
I'm still going to watch Ghostbusters.
That's fine. We've already seen Ghostbusters.
Well, there goes the curtain again, folks. But anyway,
sorry.
Yes, in full disclosure, folks, we're having to tape several of these in a row. But coming up in a few weeks, you'll hear us talk about the new Ghostbusters movie. Yeah. So, sneak preview.
So,
your thoughts and your
I enjoy that it wasn't actually Spock or Scotty or any of the men that end up saving the day. It's Uhura. I appreciate that. That's something different.
I do like the fact that they give Uhura a very prominent role in the movie and in all the newer movies. The only time Uhura actually has a very prominent role, really, as in like a lead starring type role in Star Trek history before the Abrams movies, and realistically this one. There's one episode, literally one, of Star Trek the Animated Series where the entire male contingent of the Enterprise is incapacitated and Uhura has to assume command. So there's one. They make her a star once, it's for 30 minutes, and it's in a cartoon. But in here, you actually do see her take charge.
She's kick-ass.
So there is a lot to like about this movie. I will freely admit that.
Do not listen to him on all of his whiny complaints.
I don't think they're whiny complaints at this point.
Because they are.
No, there are two things.
Complaints.
There are two things.
No.
Two.
No, baby, it is.
Final thoughts. We're running out of time.
It's a very good movie. Don't do the stupid thing and watch Wrath of Khan before you watch it, if you haven't already seen it, even though we've given away a lot of spoilers.
It's a 3-year-old movie. Get over it. As far as my final thoughts, is it the worst Star Trek movie ever made? No. That distinction, once again, in my mind, belongs to Star Trek V, The Final Frontier. Is it one of the best Star Trek movies ever made? No, it's not. It is firmly somewhere in the middle, which means it's still a really good, fun science fiction movie. I've always said this, even when I hated it. If you are a diehard Star Trek fan who's watched everything 1,000 times like I have, you will see the flaws, you will see the zippers, they will annoy you. If you are a casual Star Trek fan, then it's a fun movie and it's pretty good. If you are a fan of the Abrams Star Trek movies, meaning you have no attachment to anything that's come before them, this is kind of where your knowledge or love of Star Trek starts and stops, then it is more than an adequate sequel to the 2009 Star Trek. It's actually good in that regard. So I think your love of Star Trek overall would affect your opinion of the movie overall. Just depends on what you like and don't like. Your rating on Into Darkness.
I have technically 2 ratings for it.
Well, one with me and one without me?
That's right.
Well, give the one without me, so that'll be the fair rating.
Cell phones down.
Okay. In all fairness, because there's still things I don't like about it, and we've given fractions on here before.
I know.
At this point, I would give it either a quarter or a half cell phone up. So it's
a quarter.
Yeah, it means it has 1 1/4 stars, or 1 3/4 cell phones down. A half cell phone up, folks. It's not my favorite Star Trek movie by a stretch. It apes my favorite Star Trek movie in a couple places, but still worth a watch. Really good movie, worth your time. So there you go.
What do you vote for it, Morgan? You're going to side with Mommy, aren't you?
She can't hold a cell phone.
This cat can open doors. She can do anything the hell she wants.
Screenshot it didn't happen. I've never seen that cat open a door. But she is the Dinsey cat, so who knows? It could happen one day.
That's right.
So, I'm Mike.
I'm Cana.
She's Morgan. We'll see you next time. Before I sign off completely, it'll be from, at least the setup for it will be from the 25 Auto Drive-In in Greenwood, South Carolina. It's double feature. We've already been there and come back, obviously. But the setups will be from down there, so you'll kind of see me there while we're doing it. Star Trek Beyond in 7 days, as if when we were doing this, the #1 movie in America. So, hey, who knows? We'll see you next time, next week, here on Movie Night.